Hello, everybody, and welcome back to ZOMBcast. I am one of your hosts, Nick. Here with me today is my undead buddy.
Hi, I'm Kevin, guys. Hi, we're gonna talk about zombies.
Zambies. We're going to talk about zombies on this episode.
Wait. Zombies?
Yes, zombies.
Like, zombies?
Yeah. Big ones, small ones.
Zombies without legs?
Yes!
Oh my god, it's zombies without legs.
So more specifically, in our episode 0, or introductory episode, you got to know us a little bit, but you also got to know, like, what we thought about zombies. Like, what do we consider to be a traditional zombie? There's some untraditional ones out there, and we definitely want to cover those as well. Yes. But what do we consider to be the traditional, more mainstream version of a zombie? So what do we consider to be the first zombie movie there? So we're going to go through a couple. We got a nice, real big list. If you look here, I got my Wikipedia, which you can always trust them. I mean, they are the source for PDA.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
What is that? They have the best pedia.
Yes, they have the best pedias.
Well, I find that wiki to be a nice collective place for the people to congregate, and you do find some funny things, but you also find some accurate information, some very accurate information.
For sure.
We did find the list.
The list.
We're calling it
There's
the list.
many lists out there, but this list is my list. Other lists are not lists.
No,
and then lists are lists. Okay, if you didn't know already.
List. They're lists.
If you didn't know already, this is a serious zombie conversation. What we're going to be talking about is all the chemicals that they put into the air to turn us into zombies.
And the frogs.
The frogs are gay. No, this is we're gonna have fun on this show. And so let's start that fun off with really trying to figure out what was the first zombie movie. And let's get this episode 1. So that's the question. What's the first zombie movie?
What do we do when we go by zombie movie? Do we go by year? Do we go by class definition? Do we go by name title? And the list gave us that. The very first movie on the list by Wikipedia, and the list is literally called...
Hold on. I'm not going to trust a list unless I see your kiss somewhere on here.
The kiss? Is it on your list? So, the list is called List of Zombie Films. It's off of Wikipedia. It is a good list.
It's on screen right now.
It's very much on screen. And the by definition that they have... and the first movie that they list, if you list it in yearly order, the first movie pops up 1932, White Zombie. Wow. Yeah. So that would be, by their definition, first zombie movie.
Yes.
How do we feel about that?
How do we feel about the White Zombie being the first zombie movie?
Yes.
First off, I feel like they forgot one, because if we go to our Zombie 101, is that where I found it? No. Here we go. In the Zombie 101, it's also on screen right now, so if you're an audio listener, just trust us. It's on screen.
Yeah, it's right.
By their technical definition, we do have a movie called The Cabinet of Dr. Calgary. And now this one does seem to be a living dead that somebody controls, and he goes and kidnaps a woman, which seems to happen a lot in the very early zombie movies, is that somebody's controlling it in some way. Somebody's controlling an undead corpse. Is that a zombie? Is it not a zombie? That's obviously what we're going to be talking about. But in this particular one, Cabinet of Dr. Calgary is an undead, some kind of undead. How he died, I don't think it matters. He literally raises from a coffin, steals a woman, and then takes it back to the guy. So if we're going by a voodoo zombie type of definition, then actually this is an incomplete list, because it doesn't bring up the Cabinet of Calgary, and I want to say it was somewhere in the... Do I have the year somewhere? I don't think I was able to get the years, because even right here, If I
Let
highlight it, although in the 1920s, the Cabinet of Calgary. So somewhere in the 1920s, I don't know if I was able to get the exact year. So,
I'm gonna see if I can find it here.
okay, let's do a little fact checking. So, by that, they forgot one. If we're going by the definition of the voodoo
Well, I
zombie,
found a cabinet of Dr. Calgary that was a 2005.
I'm gonna say that's a remake.
Uh, no, it's
the
even done in black and white.
Oh, okay, so it must have been like remastered or something. Because yeah, it's a silent film. That's how far back
It
it
was.
goes.
It was. I want to say you were right with 1929.
Yeah,
Is a 1920 German silent horror film. So it's 1920.
there we go.
And that's what we have based off of Wikipedia. Um, yeah, I got it pulled up right here.
Okay. So that one is. So if we going back to what you were saying, we go back to White Zombie, 1932, directed by Victor Helbern.
Yep.
The poster itself, a guy, he has really big eyes.
Black sleek clothing.
So if we're going just by that, it's like nothing really invokes zombie there other than the literal word zombie right
Yeah.
now. And then if we look into it further to the description, it does seem like there is a single zombie or a single undead, that somebody raises because he wants to go steal a woman. Once again, very common back in the day of the original zombies.
Yes.
They steal the women to come, and I think he ends up turning her into a zombie herself, but is somehow able to get out of the trance and turn back into a regular lady. So, very interesting there. So since there's so many zombie movies, we did kind of pre-choose which ones we wanted to choose or talk about. What was
Yes.
the one that you were going to talk about?
So I have one called. See, I don't know how to pronounce it. Oyonga.
Owanga.
It was written. Well, the director, I believe that is Victor Halperin. Came out in 1936. The thing is, I can't. There is no way to. Oh,
So I Googled it. I went ahead and Googled it. I have it up on screen. So here's the poster for it. Meet Selly, naive, young, and beautiful, lithe, yielding, primitive, love, hunger, child of the tropics. So this is in the tropics. That's another thing that the early zombie films seem to have
Yes.
in correlation with each other is
Yes.
African American voodoo zombies.
And this one does take. You're right. Yeah. In Haiti, a black female plantation owner enacts a voodoo curse and revives zombies for revenge on a white male neighbor who has chosen a white woman over her for marriage. Which, I mean, you don't be playing around with no woman like that, man. You can't be playing two women like that, bro. First off, so again, this is the mind. This is the mind controlled zombies, which when you go based off of what Nick and I kind of like said, like, how we kind of feel a zombie is taken over. I put in perspective that mind control is still a zombie if they have the other basis qualities that we kind of define.
Yeah, they have to be dead. I mean, I feel like that's number one, right?
Dead. I think you have to be a reanimated corpse. You have to be a reanimated corpse. But traditionally, I was like, no, you had to be bitten. It had to be some type of bacteria. I don't know. After viewing some of these things, I kind of like, okay, well, maybe like mind control can happen as long as you have those other predispositions. So, again, not quite the same thing as what we're looking for, but they do claim that they are revived zombies. So, is it technically a zombie movie? No, but it's in that classification. It received that classification. And again, this one isn't. It's not necessarily like go steal the girl, but it is still like, why didn't you pick me?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So I'm a good guy.
Yeah. So it's still in some ways kind of goes under that classification of like kind of like steal the girl. It's not really. It's very much damsel in distress, Well, no, this isn't damsel in distress. This is definitely not that. This is damsel getting pissed off because she was distressed, and he didn't come rescue her.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, he sounds like a jerk. To me,
right?
he sounds like
Grade
a
A jerk, I say.
Yeah, grade A piece of crap.
So the next one we had is Revolt of the Zombies.
Yes.
This one was 1936, directed by a Victor Halbert. So this is actually the same. Looks like the follow-up to White Zombie.
Yeah.
In 1936, American horror film directed and produced by Halbert Brothers, which stars Gene Jagger, I believe the grandfather of Mick, and Dorothy Stone. It is one of the earliest zombie films, although it was conceived as a loose sequel to Victor's White Zombie. So this does still include a zombie. If I'm going by the poster alone, it definitely looks like there's some creepers going on. Because it has this giant head, and he has red eyes, and then, of course, there's the scantily clad woman. So this definitely seems to be maybe going along the lines of there's going to be another kidnapping or something.
Yeah.
So let's look at the plot.
Looking into the plot, I mean, you know, that's kind of what it says. It still kind of involves that secret formula you were talking about from the first movie. A student of dead languages. So he speaks Latin.
I guess so. Either that or it is a dead language.
Oh, too soon, buddy.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that one's also voodoo. A lot of the early ones do seem to be voodoo heavy. It went out of order of year. It's because I clicked on something else. All right, so what's your next one that you wanted to take?
So the next one I actually have is called The Devil's Daughter, which is a remake of Owangi.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Owangi. The Devil's Daughter, also known as Pocomania, is a 1939 American film directed by Arthur H. Leonard. The plot summary is Sylvia Walton, Ida James, of Harlem inherits a Jamaican banana plantation. All right. So she inherits a Jamaican banana plantation and returns to manage it. Since her arrival, there's been no sign of her disinherent half-sister, Isabel, which is Nina Mae McKinney. If you guys know who they are, congratulations. You have really old parents and awesome grandparents for teaching you history, who ran the plantation until their father's death. But Sylvia, her two rival suitors, and her comic relief servant Percy are disturbed by the constant growing sound of drums, which can be heard singing on excerpt of the Devil's Daughter soundtrack. So there is a soundtrack.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we may have to find the soundtrack for you guys and plug this in at some point. But I mean, but again, we're looking at the same thing. It's, I think, which I don't really understand, because if it's a remake, this is like two sisters and a dad dying, but I don't hear anything about a love entanglement. There's no love entanglement. Now, the growing sound of drums from the jungle, like, that's voodoo because it's the freaking Jamaican banana plantation.
Right. I mean, but if they get to the end, they can yell out Jumanji and everything's going to be okay.
Everything's going to be fixed. Everything's going to be fixed. Zombie.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, I tried. So, we do have that. We do have that, and I think that's kind of neat. Okay, so on the list of next, what do we have?
Looks like the next one's yours as well.
Oh. No, we can go to yours and then we'll bounce back to mine.
Well, let's go by year.
All right, go by year. So 1943, we got Revenge of the Zombies.
Revenge
of the Zombies. It's a 1943 horror film directed by Steve Seekely, starring John Carradine and Gail Storm, Dr. Max Heinrich. No, it's Heinrich. There's lobster. Von Alterman, John Carradine, is a mad scientist working to create a race of living dead warriors for the Third Reich.
It's Nazi zombies.
It's Nazi zombies. All right.
Is this our first official Nazi zombie?
I think
because all the other ones have been like Haitian or some
Yeah,
kind of voodoo zombie.
voodoo. Yeah.
So now
Okay,
this
so
is like a mad scientist. We got Nazi zombies.
we got Nazi zombies. The film was a follow-up to the horror comedy King of the Zombies. Ooh,
Oh,
we
was
should
it
have covered that.
a
So
comedy?
bring it up, bring it up, bring it up.
Okay.
You know what to do. With Manton Moreland reprising his role as Jeff and Madame Solte Wan returning as the different character. Okay, so the plot. After the death of Max's wife Lilla, he holds a funeral for her. However, he has also turned her into a zombie. He is amazed when Lilla shows signs of free will and challenges him for control. In excitement, Dr. Keating goes missing after entering a tomb of which should not have been entered. During dinner, Scott Warrington finds a radio in Max's cabinet and figures out that it communicates to Hitler. Max learns of this and gags and ties up Scott Lazarus. Max's right-hand man finds a gun while making soup with Rosa.
Putting up a soup plantation in this one. This is very specific plot summary.
Jeff finds Scott bound and gagged in a closet, and he tells Jeff about the situation.
Sounds like
Max
a good
discovers this and tries to flee the swamp. Lilla and the hordes of zombies pursue Max, and both Max and Lilla end up sinking into the quicksand. So we got death. We got death. We got hordes of zombies. We got Nazis.
Right.
Okay.
This is interesting purely for the Nazi zombie. The fact that this is now a mad... So we've gone from voodoo now to a mad scientist.
Mad scientist.
Like, we're getting closer to the fact that it's some type of infection, some type of, like, it's taken over your body through means of an infection. So we're getting more close to the traditional zombie, even though we haven't heard anything about somebody eating. You know, we haven't heard about, cannibalism quite yet. So we're getting close, though. We're getting really close.
We're getting up there. I do like the plot of this movie, though. This actually does sound interesting. I wouldn't say good. The part that lost me was Max's right-hand man finds a gun while making soup with Rosella. Like, who's like, hey, you want to make some chicken noodle soup?
It's such a random...
There's a gun.
Detail that we really didn't need to know. Like, oh, I'm making soup. Look, a gun.
And if you guys don't believe me, if you literally are questioning me, go to Revenge of the Zombies on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Read through the plot. It's right there. Plain as day. Jeez. But we do have the swamp. Mac discovers this and tries to flee to the swamp. So he's in the swamp. So we're still kind of fighting that whole perspective. But there's hordes of zombies. The word hordes of zombies.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder, like, how did that happen? How did that infection spread? How did that?
Well, yeah. And so since it was a mad scientist, did he spread it? Did he make each one of those?
To one? Yeah. Yep. Or did one of them spread it to another? It doesn't really give me that information. So again, is it a zombie movie? I think like halfway.
Yeah.
Like halfway. I think halfway it meets the spectrum.
Yeah, definitely meets the spectrum. As far as the only question we don't have known is how it spreads, or if it spreads, because it once again could just be a brainless zombie.
Yes.
You know, but still very interesting as far as like we're learning the history as we go. So next one I kind of randomly chose was Zombies on Broadway, just because it sounded so goddamn stupid.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue with the name of Zombie on Broadway, but looking at the image, is that Abbott and Costello? No, it's not. It kind of looked. Oh, it's Bela Lugosi and Alan Carney. Okay, but looking at the poster, zombie or creepy vampire.
Yeah, I know. That almost looks more like a vampire because it's all gray. It doesn't even look like maybe it's wearing clothes, at least in that shot.
Well, and
but
the ears.
We're back to the kidnapping a woman though, because he's not trying to eat the woman. He's trying to take her somewhere.
That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. Leads me to believe that it's mind control. Yeah. I mean, let's look real close.
Is that a skeleton behind him?
Lives in the Caribbean islands. Yep, we're going back to.
So
has
what's
been
the plot?
creating
Give us the plot.
Here we
Nick.
go. The boys are threatened with death unless they produce a real zombie. They discover a lead in the museum curator, that mysterious Professor Runel,
Renault.
lives in the
Renault.
Caribbean island of San Sebastian and has been creating zombies. So there we go, creating zombies.
Okay. Okay. So this
Followed
has been something
by
he's been doing.
immediately place tramp blah blah back, forfeit their lives. Upon arrival, they meet the beautiful cabaret singer.
Ooh, cabaret singer.
Let's pause it here. Hi guys, may I help you? Okay. Don't shake our baby to death. Damn. Hi. Hi. Oh. Whoa. What's that? What's that over there?
We're saying hi.
I love you, girls.
Yeah, me too.
Love you, Daddy.
Love you too, sweetie. Okay. And unpause. What was the last thing I was talking about?
In exchange for helping Professor Renault, Gene wants.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In exchange
So you're
for
creating,
your
yes.
capture. Strangers become zombified by being under the spell. There we go. That's the key.
Under the spell.
I think that's
Yep.
the key phrase right there. It's not an infection, it's a spell. So
Yep.
they could say and boom, you're under the spell. So not traditional zombie, but
This one.
it does seem like. See, it's so funny that the phrase "you better produce me a real zombie," and it's like oogada boogada. It's like that's a zombie.
Well, this is on Broadway. This
It
is
is
a
on
Broadway.
Broadway. All right, what's our next one?
We're getting zombie musicals now.
Yeah.
So the
Speaking
next
of-
one's actually Valley of the Zombies, which is another one of yours.
It is. Let me see. What is it?
Yeah.
Valley of the Zombie.
Now this is an
wow.
interesting poster.
That is a very interesting poster. I'm gonna say, without even reading, I'm gonna say that's a voodoo zombie because why would he have a knife?
It could be a phantom. Oh, that's a valid point. And that knife was like red crystal. So, but here's the thing. He's a phantom. Look at the cloak. He's a phantom.
Right?
He's
Valley
a
of the
phantom zombie.
Valley of the Zombies is a 1946 American horror film directed by Philip Ford, written by Dorrell. I don't care who wrote it.
Well,
I don't freaking
Durrell
care,
and
damn it.
Stewart.
There is no plot. Wiki, you done let me down.
You let us down.
So now
Wick.
the only thing we can go by is the fact that there's a zombie in the namesake. But
Valley of the Zombies.
if I'm going by that, yeah, that has to be some kind of mind control because it's just a guy in a cloak with a dagger, and then right up in the left corner, there's some guy like waving his fingers. So I'm saying we're still in the voodoo era of zombies.
Here we go. I found a brief synopsis
Ooh,
of
good.
it. I went to the bottom of it in the reference guide. Dr. Maynard tells Dr. Terry Evans and his nurse, Susan Drake, about the theft of 10 points of blood from his lab. Later, he is visited by Ormond Merks, a man Maynard had once had committed to an insane asylum, who later died from an operation. And Maynard learns that Merks is an example of the living death, whose abnormality is counteracted only by blood. The doctor soon becomes Merks' unwilling blood donor. Merk's brother, Fred, threatens to expose him, and he too is murdered. Terry and Susan find Maynard's body near an abandoned graveyard, and this leads them to an estate where a partially obscured sign reads Merk's brothers undertakers. Susan is kidnapped.
So
Dun, dun, dun.
they're talking more about blood than they are like eating or infecting other people or something like that.
True.
So
True.
yeah, might be still all right. Next one.
I think it's coming about halfway onto our list of meeting the zombies.
right.
So the next one's going to be the Woman Eater, which is one of mine.
You're a man eater. You're a
So the Woman Eater was also known as Woman Eater on its original UK release, is a low-budget 1958 black and white British horror
Oh
film
my
directed by
goodness.
Charles Saunders.
That
And
that
uh,
poster, dude. Like,
the
what is up
poster
with that?
is, yeah, the
That's some
poster's
kind of a
pretty neat.
creature. That's not Jambi at all.
I can't really even tell.
Well, it's got like two hands.
Or antlers.
Yeah, right. Like, what is that?
That may be antlers.
Sorry for the audio listeners. It's like the right hand has like two antlers coming out of it. It
Yes.
looks like it's covered in some kind of like seaweed
Moss
almost.
or
yeah.
it's kind of like a black and white gossamer with multiple antler hands.
So I'm gonna go by the poster and just be like, nah, I'm not.
Nah, bruh.
Nah, bruh. It might, in fact, eat. This is the first mention of eating, but that is not a zombie. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You cannot convince me otherwise.
So here we go. This is going to be the plot of the movie. At the Explorers Club in London, Dr. Morgan tells the other members about a tribe in the depths of the Amazon jungle, which has a miracle-working juju that can bring the dead back to life, and that he's going on an expedition to get it. So voodoo. We have voodoo.
We got voodoo.
He finds the tribe and witnesses a secret ceremony in which a young woman entranced by beating drums is consumed by a large carnivorous tree. That's a tree, buddy.
Okay.
That's a tree that eats people.
Gotcha.
Moran then nearly dies from jungle fever. 5 years later, recovered and back in Britain at his manor house, Moran is experimenting with the tree. Well, that's gross. Ew. Well, probably not that experimenting. He has brought it and the tribal drummer Tonga back from the Amazon. So I think this is going under the.
Well, especially if it involves a tree, that's voodoo.
However, the experiment fails. A dead heart into which Moran injects the serum revives, but dies again after a short time. So
we're thinking Frankenstein almost.
There's a serum now. There's a serum involved. Moran denies any knowledge of this girl that he had killed. That night at the local fun fair, Sally Norton is working at a sideshow dancing in a hula to attract customers when she takes a break. Jack Venner, who has fallen in love with her at first sight, introduces himself, but when the sideshow, this is not important to the story apparently.
Yeah.
Jack bests him in a fist fight, which costs Sally her job. Jack suggests that she see Moran about becoming an assistant to Moran's housekeeping, which is that doctor. Moran gives Sally the job over the objections of Margaret. That's good to know. Good on him for giving her a job. So basically, I mean, there's a serum. There is voodoo that he extracts from the tree. He can raise the dead, but the result is a mindless zombie. Our secret is it's a mindless zombie. So I don't know if they're just wandering around. But it doesn't seem that they're aggressive in most release. It just sounds like they're just mindless. I think the shock and awe factor is the giant people eating tree.
Right.
And weird. So and the voodoo and serum it kind of feels just kind of overladen with a bunch of stuff that didn't need to be there as far as like a zombie movie. Is it a zombie movie? I'd say no. I'd say no. I'd say this is a creature monster flick. Yeah, it's a monster flick. I don't know. It's not a zombie flick.
All right. So then the next one I see is my chosen one. So Zombies of Morotua. Directed by Edward L. Kahn in 1957. So I don't have a poster for that. Yeah, no, I do have a poster. It does look like off to the right we have a few of them.
Okay, but what's the red lettering? Terror on the African Voodoo Coast.
Yep. We're still.
They gave it away.
Yeah,
they gave it away.
That gave it away right there.
I mean, Moratau. Again, you're looking at those like exotic islands, so I think that also kind of gives it away that it's going to be somewhat of a voodoo flick.
Yeah. So basically, it looks like the ship's undead crew, now zombies, who are forced to guard the treasure until the diamonds are destroyed or the curse is finally. So this is almost like Pirates of the Caribbean, essentially. So
Yeah, actually,
yeah.
no. Yeah, that's exactly what this is.
Alrighty.
After a team of deep sea divers led by a wealthy American tycoon salvage a fortune in diamonds from a record. Yeah, that, I mean, come on. Disney.
Yeah, right.
Disney. Come
So-
on.
All right. So then the next one.
Razzamis. All right. Next one. Plan 9 from outer space. Space.
Yeah.
I've
so
been excited about this one.
the poster itself is extremely weird, just because it's just like we do
First
see a
off-
graveyard, I guess, right there.
Okay, so they do come from the graveyard. Okay, so I watched this movie from start to finish. I actually found it to be a fairly decent movie for its time. If you've ever seen like Mystery Science Theater 3000, you ever seen that?
Right.
Okay, so literally Melissa and I Mystery Science Theater 3000 this movie all the way through.
Nice.
But the thing is I still got the point, and it was still a decent movie. Okay. It's a 1959 American independent science fiction horror film written and produced, directed, and edited by Ed Wood. Freaking Ed Wood, knocking one out of the ballpark. First off, did everything on this movie, short from acting in it, I think. So you're looking at the poster, right? And the poster, you've got a spaceman, you've got Elvira, the vampire lady, some nice jets. Okay. Let me give you the synopsis.
Okay.
And we're not going to go off the plot of this. I'm just going to tell you right now. So They're flying a ship, and they see alien saucers come in. And these alien saucers didn't really do anything. They just kind of like hovered around, and like our military, the government, shot at them and tried to blow them up. Well, this civilization tried to contact Earth. These alien people who are very similar to aliens, but they speak a different language. Although when they speak in the movie, they still speak English. So I don't. Okay, so they try to contact Earth, and Earth develops a machine that lets them know, like, or that can translate it, and Earth knows what they're saying, but they still fight them. They're not like accepting of them, and there's really crappy lines throughout the movie. It's like, when we go in there, if I see any little green men, I'm shooting first and asking questions later. It's like, what? It's like, hold on there, guy. Calm down, Sideshow. That's another part. There, when they do shoot, one of the cops is literally shooting, and he's just looking. He has his gun right here. He's like, bow, 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 bow. He's not aiming,
Right.
nothing. And the guy goes, I shot all my rounds into him. And the other cop goes, yeah, me too, kid. And the guy got beat up. Oh, it's just so funny. Okay.
Right.
Like, it's pretty bad. For a zombie movie, no. It's 100% like, okay, so they are living dead.
Mhm.
So because like Earth won't communicate, these aliens decide to reanimate corpses. And they only did 2 at first. They did an old man and a woman. And the woman, when you're looking at the poster, is the Elvira lady.
Okay.
I don't know if it's actually Elvira, but it looked pretty dang close. Like, I had to ask my wife. I was like, is that Elvira?
Mm-hmm.
And I think she agreed that it might have been Elvira. I have sound on the other side of my wall, so if you hear that, I apologize. Sorry. So they have the Elvira lady. Well, then the other guy that comes out, if you look at the bottom of the poster, you see the guy with the cape and how it's like pulled up around his neck and how he's going for that other guy.
Right.
Okay, so he walks around with the cape over his face like this.
Now, do you know why?
There's no description of why.
Okay. Well, I know why, so I was just wondering if you were able to.
Okay, why?
Okay. So apparently Bela Lugosi filmed some things for a completely separate movie, and then died during the making of this movie. So all the scenes that are supposed to be Bela Lugosi are some stand-in, and they just he covers his face. There's one scene with Bela Lugosi at the very beginning, and it's so vague that it could have been a part of a completely separate movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, didn't know that. That's really neat.
That's a little
Okay.
FF for you. Fun fact.
Vampira. Okay. Vampira. It's not Elvira, it's Vampira, which I guess is Elvira's twin sister. I don't know.
I don't know.
Either way, so we got aliens creating zombies. There's another zombie that's in this movie. He's like a really, really big guy. He's got blood on his head. Like, out of all three of them, I feel like he is the closest, like, physically related one.
Physical
But
manifestation of a zombie.
I guess, yeah. So, like, the thing is he's completely mind controlled through like a laser gun type thing, and like that's how they get them to do what they want. So it's mind controlled through lasers or sound waves, and when he attacks, he doesn't bite, he doesn't grab or punch.
Right, okay.
He does this thing where he raises his arms and he goes wham, and he just smacks you to the ground. Like, that's it. And then he just takes capture of you and carries you off.
So there you go. We got they're getting carried away rather than outright like cannibalize or scratches or anything like that.
But at the same time, is this a zombie movie? I think partially.
Yeah.
I think that there's like a 10 to 20% ratio of zombie movie.
Right.
All right, that will bring us to the next one.
Which is The Curse of the Doll People.
Yes.
The Curse of the
Doll People. Interesting title. Or interesting poster.
I mean, first off, we're going by the name. It's probably most certainly
Voodoo.
Yeah. The story surrounds 4 men who are cursed by a voodoo priest for stealing a sacred idol for his temple. Soon after being summoned, evil doll people begin to kill their... Now, hold on. They're not controlled. It's evil doll people, so that's interesting.
Yeah, like what?
So it's not even zombies for that matter. Like,
well, okay, but what if the doll people is just a verbal reference to reanimated corpses, right?
Could be.
So I think in that perspective, like maybe, what do we have for references down here? The zombie movie encyclopedia. I'm not going to go through all that crap.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, from that, it really does seem pretty obvious it's voodoo. So it is interesting to see just how many quote unquote zombies back in the day were really just, here's a corpse, let me control it. But what would have really been interesting is if any of these like got free and then went to go create other zombies, then it would be at least a little bit closer to the actual like standard, or not standard, but more traditional zombie. So, then the next one.
The next one looks like the next two are going to be The Dead One. The Dead One is also known as Blood of the Zombie, is a 1961 American independent horror film written and produced and directed by Barry Mahan, another guy that's holding down the fort. Go you. All right, plot. During a voodoo rite of Kenilworth, so we've immediately got voodoo.
Right. And it's Louisiana, so we're Cajun.
It is Louisiana.
We're Cajun voodoo now.
Mistress of the plantation raises her brother Jonas from the dead. She commands him to kill a woman who is coming to the plantation. The woman is Linda Carrollton, who has just married Monica's cousin, John Carrollton. Oh, good. The cousins. Who will arrive for their honeymoon right after John shows her swinging night spots, blah, blah, blah. Next morning, blah, blah, blah. Stuff you don't need to know.
Yeah.
Monica again summons zombie Jonas and commands him to kill the girl to prevent John from inheriting the plantation. So this actually kind of sounds like a twist off of one of my earlier ones, The Devil's Daughter, which was actually a twist off of Owanga. So is essentially, because the plot, I mean, this sounds like a more ran down plot than what The Devil's Daughter was, but I mean, I could see it's like, you know, you got tangled love interest, you've got voodoo rituals, you don't want them to have the plantation. So again, zombies, I think it's a reanimated voodoo doll that's going to kill somebody. I don't see any infectious spread. I don't see any biting or eating. There's no poster to go by.
Right, exactly. So then what's our next one?
So no, that one's a no. Tales of Terror.
Tales of
Now,
Terror.
Tales of Terror is an interesting poster. The bottom left has
Ooh,
that like
yeah, wow.
melted skull girl. You got the three actors, like the three main men guy there. Like that guy looks like a scientist.
Right.
The one on the bottom right. Okay. 3 short sequences based on the following pole tales are told Morella the Black Cat.
Oh,
which
so this is an
combined with an-
anthology.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Each sequence is introduced via voiceover. Okay, so Morella. Morella travels from Boston to reunite with her father in his decrepit and cobweb mansion. She finds him drunk, discoherent,
Just
and
skim
depressed.
through for like undead.
I don't see anything that says undead.
Ooh, resurrected. Morel's body is then resurrected, becoming as
a whole. Yep.
This exchange, which now decomposing, where Morella
Her horrified
lay.
husband. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm looking through the second story here. I don't see
Cat. So it might have just been the first story that was Zomb-esque. Here we go. The facts in the case of M. Valor. Dying from a painful disease, so we're getting infectious. Yep. We're getting infectious. Between the worlds of the living and the dead. In a trance. Uh-oh.
Yep, there's a trance that's put on.
Okay.
Oh no!
She refuses something, so that's also.
Yep. He attacks her. Valdemir's putrid body rises from the bed and kills Carmichael. Helen is rescued by Vladimir's physician. So, I think we're about 10%, maybe 10% in the realm. 10% in the realm of being a zombie movie. So, I mean, because there is like some trance going on, but it does sound like it's an infectious spread. It sounds like we have some infection going on. Okay, so the next two, Last Man on Earth and Rome Against Rome.
Yeah. See, now, Last Man on Earth, what makes this one so interesting... I need to find it now. Oops, I went too far down. Jeez.
Ooh, we're getting down to our last 5, buddy.
Let me mark that for 4. Okay. Okay, I need to find it because that's my problem right now. I lost my space. There we go. Okay, found it. All right, so The Last Man on Earth, that is interesting. Because while it is technically vampires, it's almost the closest thing we've had to zombies, because in this, somebody tries to find the cure for cancer and instead unleashes this undead infection, essentially. So even though in the movie, go ahead.
Can I also say like, I think this is the first movie that we've had an actual like iconic horror person. You know what I mean? Like an iconic person that's been in horror films. I mean, we got Vincent Price. Mm-hmm. So, not that holds a massive relevance to like whether it's going to be a zombie movie or not, but I feel like it's going to have a little more weight to it because it does have like an aficionado like horror or Vincent Price. I mean, that's an iconic horror actor. Mm-hmm. He's the king of spook. So, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt that. I just noticed that, and I'm like, oh crap! What the crap?
So the vampires themselves don't really act like vampires, at least in the sense of they are repelled by garlic, and he kills them with stakes. But we are at least getting closer in the sense of it is an infection. It was created by, messing with science. And I think that's the most interesting thing, because the reason, obviously, that he is the last man on Earth is that everybody was turned into vampires, rather. Yes. So even though they are, by the strictest definition, vampires and they're killed by stakes, it is interesting that we're getting a lot closer to a more traditional zombie in the sense of...
Go through the first paragraph of the plot. Just in that alone, it's 100% vampire. In the year 1968, every day is the same for Dr. Morgan. He wakes up, marks another day on the calendar, gathers his weapons, and then goes hunting for vampires. Morgan lives in a world where everyone else has been infected by a plague
Yep.
that has turned them into the undead, vampiric creatures that cannot stand sunlight, fear mirrors, and are repelled by garlic. They're vampires. They're vampires, but I still feel that they're somewhat zombie-esque because
Right, which is what I was getting at. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah.
no, but yeah, that's what I mean. Is that the plague is kind of the key word there? Is that instead of the vampires biting you, and that's what turned everybody into a vampire, it's a plague.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if we were to watch the whole thing, obviously, I'm sure that bites probably do turn people, but it also sounds like something you can catch.
Yes.
You know, and so I feel like that's the reason it's the closest thing so far to like the first official zombie movie. Yes. Now it's not 100% because we both admit that yes, they don't like sunlight and everything like that, but it's really close as far as like the one before was 10%. This is like 90, maybe even 95%.
Yeah, I'd put it in the 80 to 90%. I would put it up there just because you have a lot of good things there. But what kicks it out of the realm is the fact that they are vampire creatures.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot stand sunlight, which again, if you look at I Am Legend, they can't stand sunlight either.
Right.
So again, I would not say that you can base a zombie on of whether or not they can stand sunlight. I think that you can have both. I think you can have zombies that can't stand sunlight and some zombies that can, right? Like, okay, in the Walking Dead TV show, for example, the zombie that they pulled out of the well, do you remember in like season 2?
Yeah.
Okay. If you think a zombie's been like not in the sun for a long time, maybe that the sun would affect them a little bit more.
You would think. I mean, but then we're getting into, do zombies feel pain? Because then would they be scared of it because they don't like looking at it, or do they not like it because it burns their skin? But if it burns their skin, why do they care? You know?
Can a zombie see? Or do they just smell?
Well, okay, I mean, they could do both if they still have their eyes.
Right. So if they're in, it's just like when we're in like a dark room and then we go out into the sunlight, it like hurts our eyes.
Right.
Do you think that would have a long-term effect on a zombie that's, say, been in a cave for like 6 straight years and then finally manages to like out of the cave? Do you think the sunlight will blind them?
I mean, I think yeah, because if you look at a decaying corpse, it's already decaying in the first place.
Yeah.
I would imagine a couple years down the road, since it's a decaying corpse, naturally its eyesight's going to be gone anyways, right? So if it's already decaying its eyesight, and then you put it in a cave where it can't see anything, and then you change that environment, put them in the sunlight, I think it would go blind, or at least blind enough.
Right? To keep it from being able to see. It would have to rely on the sense of the nose and the ears. If they still have those. Okay, good topic. And I think that Last Man on Earth kind of really brings a valid like stance to that. So kudos to that movie. Rome Against Rome. This is another one.
Next one, War of the Zombies, and then I guess an alternative name is Rome Against Rome. So what makes this a zombie movie? Let's see. It doesn't have a plot summary, so we're going to have to go into our references. It's reference time. References.
They have footnotes.
I don't know if that helps. Like, this is in the list, the wiki list of zombies, and they have absolutely nothing to back it up other than this is how it was made, and this was the production, but no, like, summary. Like, come on, guys, come on. So now I'm going to have to click on 8 things just to see. Well, that didn't do anything. Okay, I'm going to have to mark it again because I don't want to have to I don't want them listening to us research. Okay, when I click on the first one, footnotes, all it does is bring up the thing, the same page. So that's not helping.
I went to IMDb.
Okay. Give me a second so I can do that. I'll try.
Good luck with the fucking plot down here too.
Oh, seriously? Damn it.
Yeah. A fantastic yarn about a plot to conquer the world with an army of zombies.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. It said the word zombies.
The barking neighbor's dog's back.
Oh, fuck me.
Taglines: Unconquerable warriors of the dead.
Wow, the poster for it is very voodoo-esque. It's got this big, like, kind of voodoo, or not voodoo, Buddha. God dang it, Buddha-looking statue. It's got like a third eye shining down to the people. It's got this guy in a big, like wizard's cape, and he's like, ah. But this does look like it's zombies. But
it's Buddha voodoo. It's voodoo.
Buddha-doo-doo-boo. But it does look like there's zombies, and they're using them to at least fight.
Yeah.
But it does look undead. It does not look necessarily like an infection. So, unfortunately, since we can't really see a plot, we're just going to have to move on.
So we've got 3 movies left, mine, yours, then mine. And the movie that is next is The Frozen Dead, came out in 1966, British science fiction horror film. If you look at the poster there, you have frozen alive for 20 years. Now they return from their icy graves to seek vengeance.
Okay.
All right. 20 years.
Nazi scientist.
Yep. They're right off the bat. Nazi scientists. We got some Nazi zombies has been experimentally thawing frozen Nazi soldiers who have been kept in suspended animation at his English countryside estate. Since the end of World War II, he is awaiting his superiors, General Lubeck and Captain Trupetitz. All right. Again, so they're frozen. I'm scrolling through. Kept organs alive for medical use.
This almost seems like a more of a Frankenstein, because like right here, Nobert later impresses Ted with a wall of amputated human arms, which can control through electric stimulation. So it's like, if we're thinking electric stimulation, it's like, okay, that's more of a Frankenstein type of monster than a straight up zombie.
Yeah. So agreed. I do think that they fall under the perspection of zombies because they were dead. Well, no, they're technically not dead, but they're dead. That's what kind of makes it hard. Because, like, I guess they're dead, but they were just suspended in animation, so they did die, but they brought them back. So again, it is the Frankenstein aspect. You're right. You have the Frankenstein aspect, but is Frankenstein a zombie?
Right.
Through animation of corpse, reanimated corpse, it's not technically a voodoo zombie.
Technically, yeah.
It's not a vampire zombie. It's a different style. I think this is a different style of zombie because you have they're using mass amounts of electrocution to reanimate this corpse, meaning they can't control their mind. They can't be like,
true.
Do all of this. Now, they could probably heavily suggest it, it's kind of like if you have a dog.
Would you say they have the power of suggestion?
Yeah. If you feed a dog, eventually the dog's going to understand what sit means, right? So if you feed a Frankenstein, eventually you're going to get it to go with what you want. But it can still get mad at you. It can still attack you and be violently aggressive. May not eat you, but it will rip you apart. Right. So is it a zombie? 30 to 50%?
Yeah, maybe. And the positive side is you might be able to teach it how to do fun on the Ritz.
More than likely.
References.
Best Frankenstein movie. It's Frankenstein.
I started saying that to my wife. She didn't get it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, she's too young for that. So next one is The Plague of the Zombies. This one piqued my interest because now we're looking at a plague aspect. But the more you go through... the description, it does say people are dying from a mysterious plague. So they are dying. However, what's bringing them back does seem to be this guy right here in the poster with the red cross. So, Squire.
He practiced for several years and lived in Haiti for several years and practiced voodoo rituals as well as black magic.
Yeah. So this does seem, while there is a plague involved, so they're not lying.
No.
it seems like that's what kills them, and then something has to bring them back rather than the infection killing them. And once again, you look at the poster itself, they're capturing the girl, not trying to eat her. So still not quite towards the traditional zombie.
That is a big-chested woman. Like, that photo looks weird.
It was the
I'm just saying,
60s.
I know, but look how that's like drawn out. Like, that just looks odd. Interesting to see that the voodoo guy's wearing a weird mask that kind of looks like a Phantom of the Opera meets Nazi mask.
Phantom of the
You know what I mean?
Opera.
Again, all things taken into perspective here. All things. Okay, so we have voodoo, and I think here we go with the last zombie movie, 1968, The Astro Zombies, science fiction horror film. Looking at the poster alone, we have a zombie eating a woman.
Right.
We have a ripped off head with blood.
Yeah.
So by poster, we're already put into the 15% range because he's eating a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a skull. Okay. The plot follows a disgruntled scientist, and we got a scientist, who, having been fired by the space agency, decides to create superhuman monsters from the body parts of innocent murder victims.
So
the
now we're going
creatures
Frankenstein, huh?
We're going back to Frankenstein. The creatures eventually escape and go on a killing spree, attracting the attention of.
So they have free will. They have free will. They want to
have free will.
They want
to go attack.
Be aggressive, which is one of our stipulations. So,
yeah, they have to have. Wow, the budget was only $37,000.
Granted, this is 1968, so that's probably a lot. Actually,
it's a 94. It's an hour and a half movie. It's an hour and 34 minutes. So again, they have free will. They go on a killing spree. They are reanimated corpses. I think this goes back to what we were talking about. Like, if you can reanimate a corpse with electricity. Is it Frankenstein or is it zombie? I think it depends on the character of the zombie. Judge the zombie by the content of its character, not by the body parts it's been sewn with.
True. So this might even be getting into the 70 to 80% zombie, traditional zombie.
Yeah, I would say into the 70 to 80%, maybe even 90, maybe even 90, not 100%, but it's pushing those bounds. With the poster, with the description, I would say it's a zombie flick, and I think that's going to bring us right around to Night of the Living Dead, which came out in 1968, which is what, I mean, you and I both classify as mainstream zombie movie.
Right. This is the grandfather. This is the first official, if you would, traditional zombie, but still such an interesting history. Started off with voodoo, whereas it was more of a corpse than a straight up zombie, and then somebody was controlling them. And then the more we went, there was definitely a tradition. It's like, well, I'm gonna capture somebody, or I'm gonna get revenge on somebody by raising somebody else from the dead.
Or we had the random one-offs where it was like a scientist who was reanimating things or causing like a serum. Most of the time the scientists were Nazis, though, but I think that has more to do with what generation that came out of.
Right.
Which it's no secret that the Nazis were doing a lot of like scientific experiments during the World War II, you know, and prior to World War II. And none of it was okay. None of it was okay, but they did do a lot of that. So I can see why we had this, you know, this fluctuation between like different styles of zombies coming through 1932 all the way to 1968.
Yeah. So this was a really long trip to basically just say we think Night of the Living Dead is the first zombie movie.
Yep.
It was a long ass podcast just to get to the assumption of.
But we couldn't just flat out say that. We had to give you. We had to give you the cake. Yeah, we had to give you the context of why we believe this. Also, the list even says that Night of the Living Dead, where did it go? First film to depict zombies as reanimated cannibalistic cadavers. So, and that, I think that's the one item that Nick and I flat out say that if you are a zombie, you have to be cannibalistic. You have to be a reanimated cadaver.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the most absolute biggest things that you are going to need to to classify yourself as
Right.
a zombie. I think we found a few of those in our list.
Yeah, definitely. I was surprised to see how many got close, and maybe even how many that
Yeah.
George A. Romero might have been inspired by.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Well,
the weirdest thing about it is just, how many came out in pretty quick succession of each other.
Yeah.
I mean, horror in general seemed to be you're either vampire or you're a zombie back in the 40s and 50s.
or the werewolf. They did have
True,
werewolf
true.
aspect too. But no, you're 100% right. It was vampire, it was zombie, it was Frankenstein, it was reanimation of dead tissue.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd love to get into Night of the Living Dead, but guess what? That's going to be next episode. Next episode, we're going to dive into the story. We're going to dive into what made the zombies.
Yes.
We're going to dive into one of the very first main protagonists being a African American and what that means for society and everything. So I'm super excited. First episode is going to be Night of the Living Dead. So come on this journey with us. We'll always kind of let you know what our next episode is going to be, because this is going to be a bi-weekly kind of thing. So we're always going to let you know what our next one is. So if you want to watch it so that you can kind of have that fresh in your mind, you'll always be able to kind of experience that with us. So our next one's going to be Night of the Living Dead. Then we might even do a video game. So we're going to go to Resident Evil.
Yep, we're going to be popping around. We're going to be popping around.
And now is the time to talk to us. Let us know what you think we should do next. Always let us know. You can go to all of our things. If you're watching our video, it's down at the bottom. You got at TX3 Productions. You got ThreadX3 Productions, so you can just go to the YouTube and go to the comments down below. Let us know what you think. You can also go to ThreadX3 Productions Discord. It's always going to be in the description down below or pinned to the top of our Twitter. So there's a lot of different ways. And maybe even the easiest way, threadxreproductions@gmail.com. You can get a hold of us. Let us know what you think about the movie that we'll be talking about that week, or suggest what you think we should do next.
What kind of zombies we're going to be covering.
Yeah. So
Jammies.
This was really interesting. I'm glad we kind of went through this and just really picked apart, like, is this zombie? Is this not zombie? Very interesting. But once again, we want to hear from you. What do you think is the first official zombie movie? Let us know down in the comments below, or get a hold of us, DM us any way you want. Thank you for listening. Make sure you check your corners.
Give them a double tap.
And don't get bit.